Hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine Fleming Bruce. I'm a candidate for chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. It was so good to go around the state, meeting delegates from every county. I'm still in the process of doing that. Just today, I was in Charleston in Horry County, talking to Richland County Democrats. Wow, it's fantastic. And we still have so many more of you to meet. But I want to start off by thanking you all for the strong support that I received in my run for U.S. Senate in 2022. Because of you, I was able to come in first in a three-way race, pushing my much better funded opponent, a sitting legislator, to a runoff. So today, my purpose is to share with you my reasons for running for this very important position, what I intend to do when I'm successfully elected, and ask you for your vote. And before I do that, I want to remind you that you, the delegates, have the power. You have a critical role, not just in picking a chair or picking a person. You are picking a strategy and a philosophy for the direction of our state party this year. So all of us who are delegates who will be at the convention, I just want to remind you again what a powerful role you have and the deep thinking that you'll need to do about what direction we should take. So a little bit about me. I'm a resident of Richland County. My father was the late Lewis Fleming, an activist and Sumter County Council chairman, and my mother, Emma Fleming, a retired educator. I'm currently a director of operations for Richland County Democratic Party, and I am also an author, an activist, and a preservationist in our community. I'm here to tell you that my priorities, my number one priority, is to increase our party's ability to bring life-changing results that inspire people and give them hope that politics works for them and for their communities. I have a reputation known by those with whom I've worked for a commitment to justice, equity, inclusion, and positive outcomes for South Carolina residents. And I've worked with groups across the state, women's organizations, Black Voters Matter. I've worked with Mahente, I've worked with NAACP, and of so many groups around the state, Poor People's Campaign, Carolina for All, to mention a few. And all these works, paid, unpaid, good times, bad times, are devoted to an outcome, a positive outcome. Bills passed, laws changed that benefit South Carolina residents. I want to ask you this. Do you know that in 2017, Democrats controlled only 6 states in the US, and today, only 7 years later, that number has grown to 17. So my question for you, do we see South Carolina joining that group of 17 states? I say absolutely, with the right goals, objectives, and strong leadership. And what do we need to do to join that group? Well, of course, recruit strong candidates and win elections. But we also have to show our citizens that they will benefit not only as individuals, but as members of the community when they support Democratic candidates. We have to change the perception that politics is reserved for the so-called elites. We have to influence the mind frame that politics is for every citizen. We have to engage with voters before, during, and after the elections are over. And I'm afraid that in the past, this has not been the case. And many voters see politicians as asking for votes and not giving anything in return for those votes. And that includes our Democratic politicians. So we can't message our way out of that. We can't brand our way out of that. And we can't pour more money, invest in our infrastructure unless we address that issue. That's why it's my number one priority. So I believe we have to do two other things. We have to make sure we're doing democratic practice in all of our SCDP main organizations, caucuses, everything else. One of the things that I asked for is to make sure that instead of the standing and voting that we've done in the past, which can intimidate voters, that we go to a different system, a paper ballot, a electronic ballot. And those are not secret ballots, because all the ballots that we use are connected to the individual. And that's always been the case. But just something that is not a standing counting vote is what we ask for. I'll also focus on transparency, because that is what builds trust. To that end, I've requested that the state party provide financial supports to this campaign from 2018 to 2023 that detail revenue sources and expenditures for the federal and state columns. So I've asked for this in order to aid in our planning and budgeting for the upcoming year. But, as a donor, and we're all getting these requests for funds from SCDP every week at least. So donors deserve that information. So I understand that the job of ensuring that Democratic candidates are elected is done not just by someone who is a skilled campaign manager and has run a lot of campaigns and that sort of thing. We have had that kind of leadership in our state before, and it has not produced the result that we need. In fact, we're going backwards. So what I think is missing is the campaigning skills and developing the relationships, encouraging active civic engagement, and making sure there's a commitment to bringing all parties together so that this year, next year, and the year after that, people will be able to see change. Laws passed, ordinances passed, ARPA funds, infrastructure funds being invested in your community. I'm hearing in some of the other communities that they've been passed over by some of the infrastructure funds, some of the broadband funds, some of our rural communities. So again, we need to be able to look at that, and all of our partners across the span of issues, abortion rights, reproductive rights, the environment, labor, all education, a whole sphere of projects. And these also include how we, as every part of our community, Black folks, Native American folks, LGBTQ, women, children, Asian Americans, we have so many groups in our community. That's one of the reasons why we have caucuses, but we are not getting to the changes that are needed with our current framework. So we need somebody who's going to make that the number one priority. And we need the chair to make that the priority. So if that chair doesn't come with those priorities, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen from having somebody in second, third, and fourth place with that priority. That has to be the number one priority of the person at the top. So I believe that leadership is not a right. It is earned through demonstrated competence, integrity, trust, personal example, and hard work, and a commitment to a strategy that we will all see the benefit of. Not just a few, not just the political operatives, but people in our communities. So because of my perspective and experience as a Democrat, as a Democratic volunteer, as an activist, as a South Carolinian, I feel that this is the right time for me to offer my leadership to SCDP and to all of you. I'm asking you for your vote. I'm asking you also to commit to having a woman in this seat. Again, we have not had a woman chair in a number of years, and we've only had one woman chair throughout the whole history of our Democratic Party existence. So if we're looking at other organizations in South Carolina and asking them to change the picture, asking them to have representative, have folks represent us who look like us, asking for an end to discrimination. And when we have the opportunity to lead in that, we don't do it, then that's something to consider. So you as delegates have the opportunity to say to people in South Carolina that we think a woman can lead us. We believe a woman can lead us, can be number one in the position of leadership, not number 2 or 3 or 4, but can be number 1. So I ask you to think about all those things. I ask you to vote for me as the woman to lead the South Carolina Democratic Party, to bring my activist spirit, my spirit of innovation. And I think we will see a lot of change in a positive way. So thank you for joining in to this conversation. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button. We're going to be doing these little conversations on a regular basis. And hit the subscribe means that you won't miss anything. So please do that and hit the like and leave any questions or comments that you have in the comment section. Thanks again, Catherine Fleming Bruce for South Carolina Democratic Party Chair.